Okay, so remember last time we tried to introduce the public sector and the private sector, right? You guys remember? It was just an introduction, we didn't write anything. We tried to talk about the public sector and the private sector. So we said that the public sector is the part of the country or the part of the economy that is run by the government. Do you guys remember that? Then I remember. Okay, Judith, can you remind us about the public sector? Anything? Public, not the private, but the public. Okay, so what do they actually do? It is related to the government. What do they do? What is their main purpose? Okay, it's owned by the government. Okay, fine, let's just leave it there. Ivy, anything else? They provide services, goods and services for free. So they provide goods and services for the benefit of the general public. So the public sector has various functions. It has various functions. So it means there are several things that the public sector does that the government sector does, the private sector does not do. So today we are going to look at the roles of the public sector. That's what we are going to start from. And then we'll also look at the private sector. So the role of the public sector, that's what we are looking at. So as I said earlier, the public sector, you guys need me to write? Oh, you're good. I don't know if you'll be able to see though. Can you guys see? Okay, so we said that today we are looking at the role of the public sector. So Judith said that the public sector belongs to the government. So it is run by the government. It is part of the economy that is run by the government. And its main function is to help individuals who are in need. So they give goods and services for free. So their role contributes to the economy. So basically what they're trying to do is to make sure that the stability of the economy is great. So they try to provide goods or services. They come up with rules and regulations that are run by the private sector. They look at social welfare and also the overall development of the country. So they are also concerned with social welfare. And the overall development of the country. So that is the public sector. So they ensure that the goods, there are different goods and services that are provided for free for the public. And they also ensure that there is economic stability. So basically what we are saying is that the public sector acts as a regulator and they also act as a provider. So they are here to regulate the flow of goods and services within the country and also to regulate the economic stability of the country. And they are also the provider because they provide goods or services to different classes of individuals. Okay, I'm just going to try to raise this a little bit higher because of Ivy. Let's see if this is going to work. Ivy, can you see? Precious, can you see? Everyone else can see, right? Okay, so basically what we are going to do is when we are looking at the roles of the public sector, we'll start looking into the key responsibilities of the public sector. So we'll start looking at the key responsibilities. So the first key responsibility of the public sector is what Ivy said. So they provide public goods and services. Precious, can you tell me two types of public goods that they provide? Or two? What about services? Sorry? Hospital services, which is health services. Second one, education, national defense, all these are part of public goods and services. So these goods or services can be used by anyone. So they can be used by anyone, meaning that whether you have money or you don't have money, you can still use these public goods or services. For example, we can all go to bottom. We still use the military to protect us all, despite different classes of individuals existing in the country. So these essential goods or services may include, so these may include education, health services, military protection, and several other things. So these are not these may not be provided by the private sector, meaning that the government is the one who provides military. They provide healthy services. They may also provide education. So you see that some of these services are also provided by the private sector. For example, education, health services. The military, no, not provided by the by the private sector. But the only difference is that the private sector offers these services at a cost because they want to make profits out of it. That is the first key responsibility of the public sector. Any questions? Okay, so the second key responsibility is economic stabilization. Economic stabilization. Yanko, how do you think the government provides economic stabilization? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is very true. So the government comes up with different policies in order to stabilize the economy. So they try to control, we have different kinds of banks, the central bank, we have the Reserve Bank, which come up with rules and regulations to try to control things like inflation. So the government also tries to manage employment levels, meaning that they try to employ as much people as they can within the government so that they can work for them and reduce unemployment levels. So what we are trying to say is the government tries to adjust its spending in order to manage the economic stability in the country. So they are doing different kinds of things so that they can stabilize the economy. For example, the fiscal policy and also the monetary policy. I hope that is making sense. Okay, so the government tries to control inflation, manage unemployment levels, meaning that they want to provide as much jobs as they can, and they also try to stabilize the currency. So this is why when people drop the currency, the Malawian, there are two chairs here. So the government tries to adjust. Can anyone tell us how this happened a couple of months ago? The government trying to adjust its spending. The president said something about this thing. If you guys remember. You don't even listen to news. Remember the time the president said he was not going to travel for how long? He said he was not going to go abroad for a longer period of time because they were trying to adjust how much the government is spending towards his transportation. You guys don't remember? You didn't even hear about it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so the government tries to adjust its spending and they also come up with tax policies so that the private sector may pay for these things. So every time we buy something, the government is responsible for collecting tax. So this is how the government tries to adjust the economy or to stabilize the economy in a particular country. That is their second role, apart from providing goods and services for the public. They are also responsible for the economic stability. The third way, or the third key responsibility, is redistribution of income and wealth. Can I wrap this off? Yes or no? So redistribution of income and wealth. Okay, so just a reminder, we have 11 days for the assignment. So you have 11 days for both assignments, Introduction to Marketing Management and also Business Environment. Good luck. Anyway, redistribution of wealth and income. Precious, how do you think this concept is applicable for the public sector? How? Okay. That does make sense. You can also ask anyone to help with that. We have Judith, we have Tendai. Lusako. Redistribution. Okay, so redistribution of wealth and income means that the government is trying to make the game fair for everyone. So this is why sometimes we find out that when things are going wrong in the country, the government increases their tax levels. So you've heard those guys who order things from Tanzania, South Africa, they struggle a lot with tax. Meaning that the government is trying to redistribute the income to make sure that the money is still circulating within the economy. So this means that they don't want a lot of people to have a lot of money. They want it to go inside the economy and redistribute it to everyone fairly. So the first way in which the government does this is through taxation. So they may increase the levels of tax that people have to pay over a period of time, especially when inflation happens. So when inflation happens, it means that the government is trying to remove some of the money within the economy. That is what they tell us. I believe that is what happens. So with inflation, it means they want the money to go back within the system, within the economy. They don't want the money to stay with individuals. It has to go around in the economy. The second way is through social welfare programs. So when we talk about social welfare programs, we have the likes of pensions, employee benefits. So this means that they want those people who may not be employed to also have some money. So basically for the pensions and unemployment benefits, we are looking at individuals who once worked for the government. They don't want them to just have no money. They have to receive something by the end of the time. So the other example of these programs may also include subsidies, like what you said. So that is how the government tries to redistribute the income and also the wealth. So first, they do this through taxation. And it can also be done through social welfare programs. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to help people who are vulnerable within the country to also be able to earn a living, to have some money to buy what they need. The fourth key responsibility is infrastructure development. Happy, give us an example. An example. I think everyone knows about it. An example. So she said the Bandiro Road. That's a very good example. So that's the government trying to develop the country by building roads. Sorry? They're working for the government. I think it's a loan or something, but they are working on behalf of the government. They are just contractors. So it's how you would want to build a house for your mother. You cannot do it alone. You find someone else to do it. So them building the roads within Lilongwe, I think at this particular point in time, people are calling Lilongwe a construction site, because everywhere they're building something and they're destroying other things. When we go to other types of infrastructure development, we are looking at things like building schools and also hospitals. For example, when you go to Bunda College, the previous buildings that were there are still present, but they also try to increase the space so that they can be able to provide these services for more individuals. So there are more buildings being built as hostels and also classrooms for different kinds of programs. So this infrastructure development can manifest itself through physical infrastructure like transportation systems, roads, and it can also be social infrastructure like building schools and hospitals. So it could be in form of social infrastructure and physical infrastructure. So for example, we have roads, hospitals, schools, and also different other things. Recreation facilities, all those are part of infrastructure development. Okay, so the other key responsibility of the public sector is safety and security. Can you see this part? Okay. Safety and security. Judith, tell us about this one, safety and security. Yanko. Safety and security. How? They provide what? Security for everyone. Okay, so we talked about that in the provision of public goods and services. But it is also coming up in terms of safety and security. So it means there are two different ways in which the public sector may provide safety for its individuals. For example, the first way is through defense. We are now looking at the military. So, is it 2 months? I think 2 months ago, when the vice president died, most people were angry that Malawi does not have a proper form of defense because the president disappeared for what, 24 hours, 9 hours? 24 hours. He disappeared for 24 hours and the military was still not able to track its own aircraft. So it means the defense may have been, okay, anyway, never mind. Defense. So we are talking about the military. These are the individuals who are responsible for providing the nation at large. And then the other way is through law enforcement. So when we come to law enforcement, we find the likes of the traffic officers and the police. So when you're stopped by a policeman, most people find it rude for them to ask for your license because they are not responsible for that. So the question is always, you guys your main focus is on theft. So if you want to search my car, you can do it, but you cannot ask me for the license unless the traffic officer comes in. So these people are responsible for maintaining the law and order. They arrest the people who sell weed, they arrest people who steal, and also different kinds of crimes. So safety and security can be shown through law enforcement. And the other way is through defense. So the government tries to maintain law and order using these two. They try to maintain law and order using the police and also the military. So here on law enforcement, we also find the likes of the judges and the lawyers. They are part of law enforcement. That is why when you get arrested, if you're not bailed out or if the offense is not closed, you have to go to court. And they are the ones to judge whether you're supposed to pay money or go to Maula prison. So that's on safety and security. The last key responsibility of the government is through crisis management. Crisis management. Nigel, can you help us explain on crisis management? How does the government help with managing a crisis within the country?
Providing medicine, helicopters, in terms of provide medication, food, transportation to relocate people.
Okay, so that is very true. So what the government does is in times of crisis, they're supposed to provide help. So remember we had this issue of this issue that happened in the southern region. What do we call it again? Yes, Cyclone Freddy. So at that point, we saw that many people came in to try to help out in situations like those. But what was supposed to happen in the first place was the government was supposed to provide that particular help to the individuals. So they're supposed to provide shelter, they're supposed to provide food and resources in times of natural disasters. And the second way in which they manage crisis is through the types of economic crisis. So do you guys remember the time whereby most people spent their time in filling stations? That was an economic crisis. If you guys remember March, the time Bingu was still alive, something similar also happened. And people threatened to throw him down. So they gave him days that in this period of time you must resign. But he died before that time. So that is what we are talking about, an economic crisis whereby the government is the only one responsible for handling such things. So as individuals, we may not be able to find fuel on our own, but the government is supposed to sort it out. So the moment Joyce Banda came in, she sorted out that situation. The problem was with devaluing the kwacha. So it brought in an economic crisis. But most people believe that even if he was still alive, he would have sorted it out without devaluing the kwacha. So that's what we mean when we talk about crisis management. So the first is through disaster relief. So when it comes to disaster relief, we are looking at the government providing support and resources. In times of natural disasters. And the second way is through economic crisis. So in this situation, the government must provide solutions to eliminate So they must find solutions to eliminate economic downfalls. That is about crisis management. Tendai, can you remind me about the planned economy without checking your book? So the planned economy is also related to the public sector. Just a hint. Just a hint. Mm-hmm. Judith, what did we say about the planned economy? Who remembers about the planned economy? Anyone? Eh? Okay, so Uncle Jimmy said I didn't talk about it. Remember last week we looked at the types of economies? Do you remember the command economy? What is the command economy? Yeah, Uncle. Without checking your book. You keep your eyes here.
Like government give permission to use goods and
Okay, so what is the other name of the command economy? Precious. Planned economy. So I didn't talk about it. So the planned economy is the same as the command economy. So we said that the planned economy is the type of economy where the government is responsible for which goods or services will be produced in that particular country. So it is run by the government. So they give authorization of which goods and services should be produced. So I gave an example of if the government said that Malawi should not produce tobacco, it means people would have not produced tobacco, even though the tobacco is burnt up now. But that is what we are saying. That is a planned economy, also called the command economy. At least my phone didn't fall. Okay, the problem is with the chairs. The chairs should face that. Yeah, you guys will not be able to see. Maybe I'll just be right into here. Just turn the chairs a bit. Much better, yeah? Can you guys see through here? Okay, so the planned economy, that's what we are looking at. So since we already defined what the planned economy is, today we are going to look at the characteristics of the planned economy, the free economy, and the mixed economy, its advantages and disadvantages. So we'll start with the planned economy, which is also called the command economy. So let us look at the characteristics. So the first characteristic is that it is controlled by the government. It is controlled by the government. And the second characteristic of the planned economy is that the government commands, or it makes all decisions on which goods or services should be produced. So the government makes decisions on which goods or services should be produced in the country. Okay, so the third characteristic of the planned or command economy is that it gives little to no room to the forces of supply and demand. It gives little to no room to the forces of supply and demand because the government is the one making all the decisions on which goods or services should be produced. So it doesn't matter whether the supply is high or the demand is high. So it gives little to no role for the market forces of supply and demand. So that is what I said. It doesn't matter whether the supply or the demand is high. The government will still make the decisions on what to produce and in what amounts. Happy. What do you think could be the advantages of this type of economy? Can I wrap this up? Happy, you can choose anyone to help you. We have Tendai, there is Judith, we have Yanko, we have Happy, we have this one. What's your name? He's asking for your name. Ivy, what do you think could be the advantages of the planned economy? Okay. Okay, so the first advantage of the planned economy is that the government can direct its resources towards social goals. So I will explain. The government can direct resources towards social goals. For example, they can direct resources towards healthcare and education. Okay, so since the government is responsible for all the decisions of what will be produced or what may not be produced in that particular country, they may choose the types of goods or services that will be or that will be beneficial to businesses like healthcare and also education. The second advantage of the planned economy is that the government can ensure full employment of individuals. They can ensure full employment and also control inflation. That is the second advantage. So those are the advantages of the planned economy. Now let us look at the disadvantages of the planned economy. Can I wrap this off? Okay. Okay, so now let us look at the disadvantages of the planned economy. So the main disadvantage of the planned economy is that there is a high potential of misallocation of resources, because the government may feel like these areas of life may be important to allocate resources towards that side, but they may end up misallocating the resources. So potential for resource misallocation. That is the first disadvantage. The second disadvantage is that there is lack of innovation. Precious, why do you think there would be lack of innovation? Hmm?
The government, they are slow.
Okay. So how is that related to innovation? Okay. Who agrees with him? Yanko doesn't agree with you. He even shook his head. Okay, so when it comes to lack of innovation, it means that the government is the one commanding which goods or services will be produced in the country, meaning that there is a high chance that there may be lack of competition within that particular economy. So with the lack of competition, there is no need to actually innovate, because only a few people may be selling whatever is required. So there will be a lack of innovation. Sometimes it's just the government that is going to produce these goods or services. So there is no competition. So there is inefficiency and lack of innovation. Inefficiency and lack of innovation. The third disadvantage is that there is limited consumer choice and the potential of shortages or surpluses. So there is limited consumer choice. And surpluses or shortages. So that is about the plant economy. A very good example of the plant economy is North Korea. So the example is North Korea. That is the example of a plant economy, command economy, whereby the government rules what is produced and what is not produced within the economy. Any questions on the plant economy? Okay, the second type of economy is the free economy, free market economy. Can I wrap this off? It's the same thing of inefficiency and lack of innovation. So basically, they may not be able to produce what they want to because the government does not allow it. So they have to find other sources of income. I have no idea. I think the government is the one who's supposed to change. North Korea. I don't know, you can check. I don't really know much countries that are using the plant economy because most use the mixed economy. Okay, just give me a moment. So we have China too. Yeah, China, Cuba. Yeah, those type of countries. Hmm.
Why do you think that is low?
Of course it is. Basically, what we are saying, the disadvantage is some of the things that may actually happen. There's a possibility that there may be lack of inefficiency and innovation. Sorry? I don't know, I just know about the children.